Hello everyone and welcome to Art with Cha on the internet. Thank you all for making the wonderful textures that you captured and sent in. Today we are going to do another exercise to explore the use of texture in art. Remember that texture is how something feels to the touch or the way it looks like it would feel. The first part of that definition, how something feels to the touch, can be called actual texture. Sometimes it's also called tactile texture. This is what it would feel like to hold a kiwi in your hands. The bristly sensation of the coarse, kind of hairy kiwi skin on your fingertips. Our pounded clay pieces have actual texture because if you touched them, you would have felt the bumpy surface of the dried clay. This sculpture by surrealist sculptor Merritt Oppenheim is an example of a piece of art that uses actual texture in an interesting way. She covers a teacup, saucer, and spoon in fur to create a new, unexpected object. Can you imagine holding this cup and taking a sip from it? The second part of the texture definition, the way something looks like it feels, can be called visual texture or implied texture. In case you didn't know, AKA stands for also known as. So, texture, how something feels, like this kiwi right here, actual texture. The other part of it is how something looks like it feels, a visual texture or an implied texture. So for this one, if you were looking at a photograph of a kiwi, you can see that the surface of the kiwi is a little rough and a little hairy, even though the actual surface of the photograph is smooth. This is the illusion of texture in artwork. Now, if I was to draw a kiwi, find its basic overall shape, if I don't use specific marks and lines with my pencil to give it visual texture, it might just come out looking like an egg. So here I just have an oval, it's pretty smooth. To make this feel like a kiwi, I need to add all those little tiny kind of kiwi details, which in this case there's a lot of teeny tiny lines. Our texture scavenger sheets have visual texture that you captured off of the actual texture of real surfaces. Albrecht Dürer is a German painter from the Renaissance. That's about 500 years ago. He is known for his really detailed paintings with masterful use of visual texture, like this painting of a young hare, that's a rabbit, and this portrait of a man. Look carefully at this close-up. Can you see the man's fur cape? Can you see his beard? What are the differences in the kinds of line that he used to make the cape have a soft fur texture and the beard have a bristly, wiry texture? For today's project, you are going to need blank paper and a pencil. Divide your paper into 4 sections. You can just make kind of a cross like that. If you want them to be exact, you can always fold it in half both ways and use those creases to divide your paper. In each section of your paper, you are going to create a different texture with just your pencil. You may use real-life objects or pictures to inspire you if you would like. You could draw something rough and barky, if that's a word. You could draw something woven, like this basket. So lots of little lines going in circles. You could draw something knitted. So you might want to think about how you would get that kind of bumpy feeling, but keep it also a little soft. You could think about bristles or something furry like my little Leslie school lion. So he's got some nice fur. He's got 2 different kinds of furs, so if I drew him, I have shorter fur and like longer fur. They have slightly different textures. I could draw something feathery. Something that's made out of mesh and kind of soft. And you can also draw something hard and smooth, made out of metal. You can draw the full object or just a close-up of part of an object. Just make sure that in each of these sections, you're using as much of the page as possible. You can draw a full object or just a close-up part of an object. So maybe I'll do this guy really close up. And I just know I have a lot of these long fibers kind of woven together, so lots of long lines. But I also have these little lines, these little ones that are kind of holding everything together. So you might be asking, how do you make your pencil lines give the texture of the object that you are drawing? Think about long, flowing, curvy lines for things that are soft or even wet, and jagged, scratchy lines for things that are rough. Maybe lots of dots or small shapes to help describe bumpy or sandy textures. Experiment. The key is to really look at your object and observe the lines that you are seeing on it. My lion here and my hairbrush actually have similar lines. About 1 inch long, grouped closely together. But on the lion, the lines are more delicate, less structured, maybe a little loose to give that kind of soft feel. So if I was doing my lion, I'll just do his eyeballs, which are hard and smooth, kind of like the spoon. So if I want to make a lot of really light, kind of whispery, furry strokes all over the place, Whereas the fur on his face has got kind of a shorter feel. Whereas on my hairbrush, the line is really dark and very straight. So if I was doing there's part of the brush handle. And I've got bristles coming up. They are very uniform. They're darker. They're the same width all the way through the line. So even though these lines are a little similar, they still give a different feel. I hope you have fun figuring out how to draw different kinds of textures, and please make sure to send me a picture of your work when you're done at the email listed in your assignment. Thanks everyone. Have a lovely rest of the week.